Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 12 of the Chase is On. Today, we're going to talk about links between mental and physical health and kind of how improving your physical health can help to improve your mental health. Now, I want to preface all this with saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor of any sort. So this is not medical advice. This is not prescriptive. This is just me talking about what I know and some of the research I've done for a recent blog post I did on Midtown's website. Just diving a little deeper into all that. Again, not a doctor, not prescriptive. But I am someone who takes their physical health pretty seriously. And I have seen very much firsthand how when my physical health is good, generally my mental health is good. And, vice versa. When my mental health is good, my physical health improves. So we'll go ahead and dive right into it. So kind of touching on that initially, we should talk about physical health and mental health kind of as health. It's all connected. Your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your relationship health, it's all connected. If one of those is thrown out of whack, the other ones take a hit. It's kind of like cogs in a machine. One has a chip, one is slightly off timing, everything else runs less efficiently. It doesn't work as well. So it's all kind of one thing. You can't avoid working on one part of it. You can't avoid working on your mental health and assuming your bench press is going to fix all your problems. Same thing. You can't, just work on your mental health or your emotional health and eat like heck and figure everything will work out just fine. So it's all interconnected, right? And it's been well documented and well studied over the years that physical activity in nature helps to improve mental states by mechanisms such as reducing anxiety, possibly helping with depression or depressive symptoms. Again, not a doctor, not prescription, but for the interest of this podcast, we're going to talk about physical activity as any physical activity, whether you're a gym rat, whether you like to do yoga, whether you bike, you swim, you run, whether you go on walks, whatever physical activity you do, it all counts. We're not biased towards, bench squat dead. We're not biased towards, long runs or beach walks or whatever. Any physical activity is really what we're going to be looking at. It's kind of broad, but that's good because that pretty much means anything, can help. With that, you don't need much, to see the benefits of exercise on your mental health, your ability to relax, your ability to digest foods more properly. Something as simple as breathing exercises. I'm a big fan of box breathing. I've mentioned them on my Instagram, or mentioned that style of breathing on my Instagram. Or going for a 10-minute walk, while you're drinking coffee or after your meals, can all have a positive effect and are really good starting points for those of us looking to get into, a healthy lifestyle habit physically to help boost ourselves mentally. So today, I've got my notes. If you see me looking down on YouTube, I've got my notes. Today we're going to talk about really 4 ways in which physical activity can help to improve our mental health. It'll help us feel better. It'll help us think clearer. It'll help us, relax more. And I think we could all use a little more relaxation in these times. So the first benefit is stress reduction. The National Institute of Health shows Aerobic exercise and movement have been proven to reduce anxiety and depression. I already went over that. They also mentioned that it's a common coping mechanism people already use. We saw that at the beginning of this quarantine, where, and I mentioned this in a previous podcast, where all of a sudden in the first week, everyone is a jogger. Everyone goes out, they're jogging, they're walking, they're being very active, and I'm sure some of that was to, find something to do. They all of a sudden have this free time. They want to build these healthy habits. All the excuse of not going to gym now taken away, except for there not being any gyms. All these excuses of not, being active were taken away. So now they have the ability to go ahead and start this healthy habit. But it also, maybe subconsciously, maybe consciously, reduces the anxiety level and the stress level people have. And I mentioned this in an Instagram post. I'll try and tag it. I went for a jog. There was, a couple weeks where I was not in a very good spot. A lot of stuff just kind of hit me at once. And I went for a jog, and problems didn't go away, but I was allowed to think more clearly about them. My anxiety level decreased. I'll try and find that post and link it in the show notes. I think it was a pretty good post. But yeah, so exercise reduces stress. And a lot of times that may have to do with, this is the thing we're focusing on, right? We don't have to focus on, what we're doing for dinner. We don't have to focus on the meeting we had with our boss earlier in the day that maybe we didn't speak as coherently as we wished, or we don't have to think about, our bills due next month. Whatever the anxiety inducing thing is, we don't have to think about it. We got to focus on what we're doing right now, whether it's a jog, whether it's a lift, whether it's our yoga positions, whether it's our breathing patterns. We have to focus on that. So it kind of takes our mind away from all the stuff that's giving us these stress levels, and gives us something positive that's affecting our physical health, gives us that to focus on. So then we can be in a clearer and maybe better mental state when we go back to, the things that have to get done that maybe we don't really enjoy. And part of that comes from thing number 2, which is an endorphin release. So endorphins work in the same kind of pain receptors as opioids. So when you hear people talk about runner's high, that's where that term comes from. It's this release of endorphins that go through to these receptors, and provide this almost euphoric type feeling, during an exercise. Generally this has to be done during, longer state exercises. Sometimes if your exercise is really good, you feel it, kind of shorter. I've reached, quote, runner's high. I've never had runner's high while I was running. Didn't particularly enjoy it ever very much. But there have been times in the gym where it's, you just leave feeling like, you're on cloud 9, and that's that endorphin release. So everyone knows that those endorphins can make you feel good, right? They provide you almost this like airy type feeling in your head where, like I said, on cloud 9. But they also have been shown to improve your memory and have clearer thoughts. If you can do that, if you improve your memory, coming from a guy whose memory is not that great, and you can have clearer thoughts, then generally you're going to be able to think about, situations maybe a little more rationally, maybe a little more realistically, not necessarily create all these, scenarios in your head where things can go wrong. That's what we all do, right? That's why we lay awake at 11:30 in the evening, because we think about either stuff that hasn't happened, that probably never will, and how it can go wrong, or we think about that time, we asked our 6th grade crush out via note, and we saw them with their friends and they giggled. Whatever. Not saying that happened, but I'm sure it's happened to someone. But if we can think more clearly and have these clear thoughts, then it's kind of the same thing as, going on the run. We can focus on what we know we can handle. We have those, we have a clear picture of, this is what's in front of us. This is how we can attack it. This is how we can approach it. And if you have, you're pulling better from your memory bank, you're going to be able to use some past experiences to be able to have a more positive impact in future meetings with future clients, with with family relationships. You can pull more stuff from there. Being able to reach into the back of your mind and pull out some memories that you maybe you had suppressed for one reason or another, that provide a positive outlook for you. This is never really a bad thing. All right, item number three is sleep. Okay, I've talked about how important I think sleep is. I think sleep is so important that there are times I go to bed before 8:30, to make sure that I get my 7 to 8 hours. Sleep is hugely beneficial for your health. A lot of our bodily functions take place, like our metabolic, we're burning a lot of calories, we're resetting our energy levels, we're sleep is just so incredibly important. We're rebuilding our muscles. We're retooling our joints. Making sure the cartilage and all that stuff is there. That part of all of those things take place during sleep, and most of those things take place during sleep. And the thing with exercise is it helps you to get more regular sleep. For a couple reasons. One, you're generally more tired at the end of the day when you work out, which makes sense, right? You've expended energy, you've burnt some calories, you're probably a little more fatigued than on a day where you didn't do anything. Like a good fatigue, not just like oh my God, I haven't done anything all day fatigue. So it helps you to get into a positive sleep habit. Our bodies are, creatures of habit. They're hypersensitive machines. So when we, go to sleep, let's say at 10 o'clock rather than 1 o'clock, and we wake up feeling better the next day, our body recognizes that and wants to make that 10 o'clock habit a thing. Now, is that going to always be possible? Maybe not. Maybe you have international meetings you need to attend or whatever, but we recognize that, and it can help drive that 10 o'clock more regularly when it's possible. Okay, exercise also increases our core body temperature, right? That's obviously well known. That's why we sweat. That's why we feel hot when we work out. And you may think, Chase, I thought it was supposed to be cold when we sleep, and it is. But the increase in our core, the part of what gets us into these sleep rhythms is the reduction or the decrease in our core body temperature from the time when we go to sleep to when we get asleep. So if we have a more drastic change in our body temperature, generally we get into deeper sleep easier. So I'm not saying that you need to work out immediately before you go to bed. That is usually a terrible idea. Your nervous system won't be all fired up. You won't be able to actually rest. But even, like I said, bodies are hypersensitive machines. So a change in your core body temperature, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 degrees is going to make a difference when you go to down-regulate at night. It's going to be a steeper change from a wake body temperature to a sleep body temperature. So you will still experience a positive benefit from that. And then, kind of the final one is, really pertinent to me and maybe a lot of you. I don't have a normal schedule that allows me to eat dinner at normal times. I'm not a 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock dinner person most of the time. A lot of times it's 9:30 or sometime between 9:30 or 10 when I'm eating dinner. And that leaves, a bunch of food, in my stomach being digested, stuff like that. I have not seen really a negative impact, from that. And from what I found, it's because I'm pretty active most of the time. I'm active / workout about 6 days a week. 1 day a week, I lay around and don't do very much. I'll go on walks or whatever, but I'll also hit a bunch of couch side planks, for max time. if I can. But there's this, our body after we work out burns calories longer in the day, especially if we do cardio at the end of our workout. It's called exercise post-oxygen consumption. So you'll burn calories later in the day. You'll keep that calorie burn up higher for longer, and it'll burn longer post-exercise. So if you're like me and you have, food later in the evening, which again, I do not recommend, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Having that calorie burn later in the day, when you go to sleep, you're going to be able to digest that food easier. It's not just sitting in your stomach, causing this restlessness feeling, this, kind of bloated, full feeling. You're able to, break down the food, get the calories, and then disperse it to, the body parts that need it. Again, it's not ideal. If you can eat dinner at 6 or 7 o'clock and have some tea before going to bed, that's probably the dream. But for me and a lot of people in jobs like mine, that may not be an option. And then, so the final benefit I find of exercise on our mental health, and I think this is a huge one. Like this is massive, is it builds interpersonal connection. I am a firm believer that people who sweat, bleed, accomplish things together build stronger, more persistent bonds. You see this all the time with, military members, sports teammates, or like even founders of, companies, that build from the ground up. You go through this stuff together, whether it's a, basic training or your 2-a-days of football, or even just like building out your own office space, instead of hiring contracts and stuff like this. You're accomplishing these goals, you're sweating together, you're relying on one another. You're building those interpersonal connections, and those generally last for a really long time. I talk much more with my college baseball friends than I do with the people I went to high school with. I talk much more with, the people I worked at Gift Fast with than, the people I worked at American Eagle with. And that's just that's the way it is. We were in both those scenarios, we were building something together and putting all our effort in. Everyone was, kind of on the same page, and it strengthened this bond. I will say it again, nothing brings people together like sweat and a job well done on a task they needed to accomplish. So I think that's huge. Not only once you build those bonds, now you've got this support group around you. You've got these people that check in when you miss a workout. You've got these people that check in and ask, to get together on the weekend. So you're never truly alone, which is huge. It's so huge. And we saw that when coronavirus, this COVID-19 lockdown started to take place. People are now in their home. They don't have these, maybe they have their family support system, right? You've got phones and stuff like that. But there's a reason, me and my buddies got on Zoom every Tuesday night, because we miss those interpersonal connections. There's a reason Zoom stock took off. There's a reason people, have this desire as soon as things open up to want to go there. When the beaches open up, there are a lot of people that went to the beach. Do I think necessarily, they did it in the right way? No. But you understand that desire, right? It was, their friends, their, support group, whatever it may be. And it gives you that sense of community and that sense of friendship that humans are always longing for, right? We're communal creatures, ever since way back in the day when we were hunter-gatherers, we would move as a group. So building those interpersonal connections, not only huge for our mental, for our health, huge for our mental health, but it can start with our physical health. That's why CrossFit. CrossFit is has its good, has its bad, right? But the community aspect of it is like second to none, right? That's They have thousands of people generally, tens of thousands of people gather every year, maybe not this year, to watch other people work out, but they go hang out with their friends, right? Same thing with sports teams. That's why tailgating is so popular. It's this community effect where people have like-minded ideas on this certain thing. Maybe they think differently elsewhere, but you've got this community of people around you that are gonna be able to support you and help you and be there for you when you need them. All right, so I think that's a pretty good spot to end. At the end of the day, any kind of physical activity you can do is going to have a hugely beneficial and positive effect on not only your physical health, obviously, but your mental health, your emotional health, and your interpersonal, relationships. With that being said, if you have any questions, or if you are, maybe, not having a great time mentally, it's tough times for everyone. Please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm always here. My Instagram is at chase.harris.performance. From there, you'll be able to get a contact link that emails or texts me. I'm always available to talk.